Hi grade 5 6s. Today what I would like to do is to model to you the Amelia Woodsey Thomas painting that I put in the art grid. So that requires a few things. If you'd like to do that activity, you'd need to trace some circles on a bit of paper. I'm going to show you my workstation and what I've got so you can set yourself up. And also I'm going to show you the style in which she would paint. So I'm hoping you'll find it helpful to do that activity if that's what you choose to do. So I've got a piece of paper. I've got some different size circles here that I could trace. I've got a water container that I could also trace. I've got some watercolor style paints. So these ones are Alcato paints, dry paints. You might have acrylic paint, wet paint. That's also really, really good. Got some smaller ones there. Got a grey lead for tracing and some brushes and of course my water pot, which really, really does look like an artist one, doesn't it? You'll also need a bit of paper, some newspaper, to obviously paint on so the table doesn't get messy. So what I would do to start off with is put your piece of paper, either landscape like that or portrait, whichever way you want. I'm going to have mine landscape. I'm going to choose a small circle to begin with. So I'm thinking that out of these two, I'll go with a Play-Doh one and just put that in the middle of my paper. I'm going to trace around that carefully to make a small circle. And then I'd like a circle that's bigger than that to put my paint strokes around. Thinking that this one here might be good. So turned that plastic cup upside down. Just going to trace around that. And then I might just use this big pot for the bigger one. Trace around that, the grey lead. And I can pop those aside, I won't need them anymore. So that's given me, hope you can see that. I'll just pop this up a bit more. That's given me some circles that I can use as a guide to actually paint around, to put the brush strokes in a radial fashion, in a circular fashion. So that will help guide my painting. So I'm just going to pop this down now, and I'm just hoping that you can see that good enough when I paint it. So I'm going to dip my brush into water. I'm going to use a brush that's quite flat rather than round. So I want flat, sort of straight brush strokes. So I'm going to dip the brush in water there, and I'm going to swirl that. I'm going to use blue to start off with, into the blue. If you're using this style of paint where it's dry, you need to swirl quite a bit to pick up the paint. So swirl, swirl, swirl till you've got a nice bit of paint on the brush. Now I'm going to start in that smaller circle and go around. So I'm just going to do little brush strokes going around, keeping in that circular motion. I'll hold it up so that you can see a bit better in a minute. I'm making sure the brush strokes are fairly straight as can be, and still going around a circular motion. So like that. So now that I've got that, I'm going to paint the inside of it. I'm just going to wash my brush. This time I'm going to use purple. And I want some more brush strokes going around like a mosaic style. You might want a smaller brush at this point. I'm just going to switch to a smaller brush. So I've got this small one out, and that should be easier to do the inside. So this time I'm going for yellow, the colour. I need to really make sure that I swirl that around to pick up the yellow. It's a bit harder to pick up than the other colours. All right, and I've got some small brush strokes there. Okay, so now I can do that outer bit of the circle and keep going until I cover the whole page. So next up, I'm going to use some red. Got a nice bright red here. I'm going to go back to the big brush as well. Just going to make sure that I've got enough red by painting the newspaper in front of me. Sometimes that's a good test for whether you've got enough paint on your brush, because you do need to swirl a bit to pick up that paint that's dry. Okay, so if you use wet paint, so the acrylic, that will be a lot thicker and more messy and easy to apply, but it might be harder to do your brush strokes, so just keep that in mind. So you might need to add more paint as you go along. I might actually try and put these a bit closer together. I'm finding the gaps a bit too much. Okay, and then you just keep going around and around until you've covered most of the page. You might want the circle about this big, or you might want to keep on going until it covers the whole page. That's really up to you. But that's how I would start your Amelia Woodsey Thomas painting, and I hope that you enjoy creating it. Okay, signing off, bye-bye.